Before we begin, thank you very much to William C. for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. Just a quick reminder, Patreon is a tip jar if you enjoy what I do here, and I appreciate everyone who pitches into it very, very much, but it is not a requirement. It's keeping the channel afloat, but don't ever feel like you're obligated to do it. It just sounds weird when I say it that way, but seriously, take care of yourself first, and then pitch in a little bit. It's why I prefer to take a buck or two rather than ask you like massive amounts. So anything is appreciated, and I thank you very much. Just you come first. I did a video recently where I kind of blew a few people's minds by revealing the existence of this toy, which is Captimus Prime. It is literally Optimus Prime that transforms into a baseball cap. So Transformers, of course, as the brand has grown, has gone into several novelty-style Transformers, which are extremely weird when you go to like a typical Transformer thing. But I wanted to give kind of an overview, so I decided let's take a look at just Optimus Prime, and we're not going to look at every single toy he turns into, or every single iteration of Alt Mode, but I'm going to go into as many of those weird alt modes as I could find, and we'll see just how many things Optimus Prime has turned into over the years. Now, I will say I labeled this video everything Optimus Prime has ever transformed into, but I don't know for sure. There's so many. There's literally hundreds of Optimus Prime toys. There could be a few I'm missing here. So forgive me if the list is technically incomplete, but I'm trying to be as comprehensive as possible. All right. So we're going to begin simply with the original, the classic, the cab over semi truck. Obviously, that's the one that's been replicated the most over the years. That is the traditional stylings of Optimus Prime. No shock there. And then we have futuristic versions as well. Those have been numerous over the years. This is the one that we see more modernly. We saw it in the movies. We saw it in Prime. This is the traditional semi-truck style. And, of course, there are multiple iterations of that, as well as futuristic varieties as well. Another one that is rare but makes perfect sense for Optimus Prime is the fire truck, a very heroic vehicle that still stays true to his big truck stylings. And again, futuristic options are available. It's just beautiful, right? This is just beautiful, right? It is. But that is where we know Optimus Prime's tradition. Let's go away from that. We'll start slow and then we'll work into the weird. And starting slow means we go over to the alternator slash Binaltech line, and we see Optimus Prime as a pickup truck. That's pretty much same style of vehicle, just smaller. Just smaller, right? It's the everyday man semi truck. Even though the ones I see driving these days look like the size of semi trucks. But no, this is another alt mode that kind of makes sense for Optimus Prime. It's not the only truck he's been, though. He has been a tow truck as well. Now, this is courtesy of the Rescue Bots line. They're going to be responsible for quite a few weird entries on this list, so keep an eye out. We've got a few more of them on the way. But yeah, that's a repaint that they did. And then they also did a fire truck, or a monster truck. Yeah, again, this one kind of makes sense. It's a weirder version of a truck for Optimus, but it's still technically a truck. It's still technically in that same vein, so we're not getting too far away from Optimus Prime here yet, are we? Let's go further. How about a train? How about a train? Yeah, so this was from Transformers Go. Kind of an obscure line these days. There's literally like 7 toys total and a bunch of direct-to-DVD, excluding repaints, I should say, and then a few direct-to-DVD specials, and that's it. But yeah, you can see Optimus Prime here was a bullet train and a weird dragon thing that didn't really look like a dragon or anything. It looks like one of those novelty roller coasters at a carnival. But there you go. But now we're getting into the weird, right? A train's kind of like a truck. It's kind of like a semi truck on rails. But the dragon, okay, dragon's a little bit weird. So let's continue. We also have another, here's another, truck, but also a jet. Optimus Prime as a big jet. Now, that's not too far out there. Certainly the Dragon beats that. But you know what? It's not the only jet Optimus Prime. There is another aerial Optimus Prime, and that is again from Rescue Bots, where he's a jumbo jet. And this is now let's we're only judging like what Optimus Prime turned into. Let's completely ignore the fact this is aerodynamically impossible. He's flying with two cargo containers strapped to the sides of this plane. This would never fly. I don't even care if it's science fiction. This would never fly. So yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Let's go back to normal ground vehicles. Optimus Prime's been a car. I think that's pretty much the go-to, the most traditional Transformers vehicle mode. So no real shock that Optimus Prime has also been a car at some point. It's not even the only car he's turned into. This isn't even the first car. The first one was in G2 in the GoBots line. But yeah, car Optimus Prime. How about a Meteor? This was his entry mode, or protoform mode from the '07 movie. Repainted a few times into better color schemes, but yeah, this was Optimus Prime entering the atmosphere. So yeah, he's technically, if you want to give the alt mode any kind of designation, it's a meteor. And that's a weird one at that. It's a meteor with wheels. If you the meteor has tires. Retrospectively, I've learned that these toys were produced very, very quickly, probably some of the quickest turnaround time for a toy design we've ever seen. So that might explain a little bit of the weirdness, but also, yeah, I guess it makes sense for the movie in a strange way. Let's get weirder. T-Rex. Thank you, Rescue Bots, the gift that keeps on giving. This isn't even the only mold they ever did of Prime as a T-Rex. They've done smaller ones, and they've done another that's like a completely different transformation style than this. Uh, Rescue Bots made Optimus Prime have a T-Rex mode pretty consistently. I kind of like how the truck exhaust still exists as horns on him. That kind of, I don't know. There's something silly about that. I've oddly always liked the look of this. It's dumb, but it's kind of awesome at the same time. It's like if G1 Optimus Prime was designed like Beast Wars Megatron. I think that's the weird parallel we're getting here. Also, this could be a very simple Beast Wars Megatron rescue bot. I don't think I've ever seen someone do that. We'll stick to Beast for a little bit and we'll go to... Okay, this is a technicality. This was released as Optimus Primal. I will fully admit that. However, when this toy was released, the concept for Beast Wars was that it was going to be a continuation of the G1 characters. The original character we know as Optimus Prime was, once upon a time, the original, or Optimus Primal was originally the G1 Optimus Prime, just in a new beast-based body. Megatron would have been the exact same way. And that probably would have meant we would have gotten a lot more typical names in the Beast Wars cast. Cheetor might have been Prowl, for instance, you know? So, I am technically counting it, and technically because the first Optimus Primal toy was done the exact same way, I could include that too. So add Gorilla in there if you want. I'm only adding this because it is a technicality that exists just for the sake of being complete about this list. Back to weird. How about an SUV? This was done in collaboration with Toyota. It's the FJ Cruiser vehicle mode, kind of like an off-road SUV, I guess. Uh, Again, this is not technically terribly weird. I think the weirdest thing about this is it didn't go through normal channels. I totally forgot this thing existed. But toy-wise, it didn't go through normal channels, and obviously, like, all the different color schemes, not typically a typical Optimus Prime thing. It's just a weird side toy that got produced at some point. How about a power bank? So you remember when we had that tablet sound wave that everyone was like super impressed with because it's like a super flat object that transforms into a three-dimensional transformer? Same company decided to make Optimus Prime a power bank. Now, obviously, not nearly as impressive design wise. He is a scrawny boy, but he is an actual power bank you can plug into your phone and give it a quick, uh, you know, quick recharge. This gets more into, this is definitely now into the novelty transformer, especially when he's using his own power battery to light a sword, like he's a G2 laser rod or something. This is, yeah, this gets into the weird stuff. So let's get weirder. Yeah, I'm saving the weirdest stuff toward the end. How about a cell phone? Optimus Prime as a cell phone. Again, I think this was in conjunction with a cell phone company to produce. Like, this is where Transformers has become so mainstream that we're not just getting toys for, the fiction or anything like that. We have companies that want, an approach like Takara or Hasbro with, we would like to have a Transformer to promote our items. So they make you pay them enough money, they'll make a Transformer out of anything, right? So yeah, we have a cell phone company that wanted transforming cell phones, and we got them. And remember, there are shows in Japan that were all about transforming cell phones. So this was not terribly unusual over there, but to look at it out of context, a little bit odd. A little bit odd to say the least. How about a PlayStation? How about a PS1? Now, this was done as a counterpoint to the Mega Drive Megatron, which was of the what we call in the U.S. and the Western world the Sega Genesis. This this was the counterpoint. I think it was a bad counterpoint to pick because I feel like this was done when Nintendo wasn't really keen on letting people license their stuff to make toys out of themselves. Nintendo's only in the last couple years getting really comfortable with uh, licensing their things for toys outside of producing things themselves, like they do Amiibo. So like really, if you're gonna make a counterpoint to the Genesis, it should have been the Super Nintendo. But I feel like this was the closest they could come. Bizarre. Bizarre is the word for it. I love how there's so much gray on him. Like they're trying so hard to put his Optimus colors in, but they just like the PlayStation Alt mode is just way too dominant here. All right, how about a pen? Do you need a pen? You ever have that need where like I can't find a pen? Where's a pen? Gotta find a pen. Gotta write something down. Oh, here's my Optimus Prime. Let me transform that and then write it down. This is the most. This got to be like the most cumbersome pen you've ever messed with. And guess what? It's not the only one. It's not the only one. They did one in Energon too. This was a Japan thing. They did that. Takara did this, or Takara licensed somebody to allow them to do this. I can't remember which. Actually, I think that's is. I think this was Sentinel that made these. But in Energon, of all Optimus Primes to make a transforming pen out of, Energon had one of these too. I had it once upon a time. Yeah, so more of again, novelty. How about a bear brick? Is a perfectly normal, I say perfectly normal, that's an error right there. But yeah, an Optimus Prime robot that turns into a bear brick. It's always interesting when a humanoid shape has to transform into another humanoid shape, and this one does it oddly well, which is weird because it like transforms upside down. Like the head of the bear brick is the legs of the robot mode. Like it's bizarre. They did Megatron and Starscream like this too. I think I want to say Bumblebee. No, I can't remember. Bumblebee got one too, but they were all the same body, just different heads, different paint. But yeah, bear brick. Optimus is a big bear. How about a watch holder? Okay. How about this? Yeah, he's not even the watch. He's the watch holder. So without the watch, the matrix of leadership is present, which I think is actually a cool little design touch. But you can see, like, his alt mode is just a really clunky, convoluted stand for a normal digital watch. And it's like a digital watch you'd expect to pay $10 for at Walmart just for your kid. But this thing was outrageous, like hundreds of dollars for this thing. Hundreds, like some stupid designer thing. And it's not even a good looking designer thing. It's just a hunk of nothing. that turns into Optimus Prime with a watch buried in him. One of the weaker attempts, one of the weirdest attempts, and like, I don't know, like, easily the most expensive one on this list. I will say that. All right, is everyone ready? I saved my favorite for last. The absolute weirdest Optimus Prime, in my opinion, that they've ever made. Shoe! Shoe! Optimus Prime as a Nike. This is a painful reminder that shoe collecting is a big thing, and was back then too. Has actual laces that you could tie. Was integrated into his alt mode. And yeah, it's a weird one. There's a Megatron shoe too. There's also a Megatron shoe. This for me takes the cake, because shoe. And like really accurate shoe too, like texture and everything. Like this wasn't even a novelty. This was like a licensed thing to appeal to Transformer and shoe collectors. This this is the weirdest. And here like this would already be weird enough, but there is also a knockoff version of this that was done as a kid's, like as a like essentially a Happy Meal toy, like a kid's meal toy. I can't remember who did it. I don't think it was anyone in the US. But that does mean there are many versions of this mold running around out in the world somewhere. So this gets more bizarre if you look into it. It's just shoe. Shoe. Optimus Prime, the shoe. And keep in mind, as I said, I don't know if this is a complete list or anything. This is just all the ones that I could come up with. If we go even, and this doesn't even include things that are like Optimus Prime, but technically aren't, like, let's say, Mickey Mouse, painted as Optimus Prime and transforming into his vehicle mode, but it is still Mickey Mouse, so it's not technically part of this list. But that'll give you an idea of just how prolific Optimus is as far as alt modes go, and how weird they are willing to make them in the sake of cross-promotion or just keeping you guessing. So that is what this video was about, is to keep you guessing. So I want you to not really be sure what's going to come up next on this channel, but I hope whatever it is, you enjoy it. So thank you for joining me for another random video, and hopefully I see you tomorrow for whatever else I come up with. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.